Welcome to our /read it on Reddit. Today's video features 3 wild stories of karma, revenge, and unexpected endings. Stick around until the end for an emotional twist you won't see coming. Let's dive in. Throw your purse on my feet so you can have more for your oversized carry-on. Good luck finding it. I am someone who struggles with being overly kind and accommodating, especially on planes. I'm a small person, and PPL usually assume that means they can encroach upon my space on planes instead of just upgrading themselves to a more accommodating seat. Finally, I was fed up and knew I no longer wanted to sacrifice my sustainability and comfort for selfish, undeserving humans. I have the window seat, and someone who is boarded quite late comes in pushing her oversized carry-on, winter coat, purse, and a shaggy blanket onto me. She didn't push her carry-on under her seat because it couldn't fit. She throws the shaggy blanket onto my seat while I'm sitting there. She places her purse on my feet, places her headphones on, and closes her eyes, as if I'm invisible. I move the blanket and purse back to her side. Flight attendant comes around and tells her about her luggage. She ignores. They assume she can't hear them. She continues to ignore. They tap her shoulder. She ignores. They shake her shoulder, and she finally follows their instructions. Before you know it, her coat, blanket, and purse are on my side again. She's fast asleep, elbows flung, and having sweet dreams. Do my best to move her things. Now her mouth is open, and she has terrible nighttime breath. Cool. We're about to land. She's wide awake and on her phone. Puts her gross blanket back on me, so she has more room. Finally, I get assertive. She then yanks her blanket, as if I am in the wrong for not wanting her things all over me in my space. Plane lands. She gets up aggressively and charges off the plane with foul attitude, except she forgot to grab her purse. Normally, I would have said, "Oh, hey, looks like you forgot something." But not my job to help nasty, entitled individuals. The flight attendants surely will catch her before she leaves the gate. Nope. I see her walk through the food court and through the ground transportation doors. I wonder how far she'll get without her purse. A classic case of instant karma. Maybe next time, she'll learn to respect other people's space. But speaking of karma, our next story takes us from the skies to the workplace, where a manager's lack of empathy comes back to haunt him in the most unexpected way. Won't let me go home sick? I'll see you in 30 days when I pick up my cancer meds. Although I didn't have control over how this revenge played out, I still smile when I recount the story and thought it would fit here. In 2010, I worked at a corner drugstore as a department lead back when those were relevant. I was 21, I did the bare minimum, and I hated working Sundays, which were my Fridays. I will be the first to admit that I could have been a better employee, but I knew this wouldn't be my career. And I was just coasting until I graduated. Sunday, May 2nd rolls around and I felt awful. I had already not been feeling great. That Friday, I was a bit under the weather. When Saturday came around, I felt pretty okay. But then Sunday hit like a sack of bricks. About 2 hours into my shift, I asked my manager, Ryan, if I could go home. The guys in management despised me, so I was not surprised when this particular manager snarkily responded with, "You need to get someone to come in and finish your shift." Editorial ADD, this wasn't policy. He was just being an ass about it. Because he didn't like me, fine, no problem. I called one of my co-workers, and she came in for me. My boyfriend at the time was working at a hotel down the street. We shared a car, so I went to his hotel to sleep until he got off work. I slept in the lobby for 9 hours straight. We made it home, and I started coughing up blood. My boyfriend forced me to the ER that night. I was diagnosed with strep and admitted to the hospital. That Monday, the 3rd, one of the nurses informed me that I'd be in the hospital for at least a week. So I called my store to let them know. The manager I spoke with, Brad, hated me more than anyone else at that store. I told him the news. Brad, you'll be out for a week for strep? Me? Yeah. Do you want to talk to the nurse? She's right here. Brad, no. We'll see you when you get back. He was clearly irritated by the news, but there was nothing I could do. What I hadn't told him, as I didn't know at that time, is I was admitted because the hospital suspected I had something much worse. I was visited by a doctor on Monday who explained he'd like to perform a bone marrow biopsy. I had no idea what that was or why I want to do one, except that my blood counts looked weird. I had the procedure done and continued recovering from strep. Tuesday, May 4th comes, and the doctor from the day before pays me another visit. Twinkies, we got the results of your BMB back. You have an aggressive form of leukemia that requires immediate treatment. We'll be sending you to a hospital in Big City to start chemo tonight. My world was turned upside down. I called my best friends, all of whom I work with, and invited them to the hospital to share the news. One of my friends had a shift that afternoon and broke the news to the store. Twinkies has cancer. I spent 28 arduous days in the hospital fighting for my life. My mom had visited my store a few times during my hospital stay and talked with my store manager, letting her know what was going on. My SM was very understanding and supportive. The other managers never said a word to me, my mom, or my friends about the situation. When I finally got out of the hospital, I went to my old store to pick up my maintenance cancer meds. As I made my way back towards pharmacy, bruised, bald, and with a bright purple PICC line sticking out my arm, I turned down aisle 10, and who do I see? Ryan, stocking vitamins. "Hi, Ryan," I gleefully shouted. The look on his face was priceless. "Oh my God, Twinkies, are you okay? How are you feeling?" "I'm great now, thank you. It's a good thing I left early that Sunday and ended up in the hospital, so they found a cancer." The whole situation was absolutely delicious. Despite everything I went through, the feeling of complete vindication when they had to face my cancer-ridden self was incredible. I never ended up going back to work there. I had to file disability because the next 5 months of my life were week-long hospital stays, followed by constant transfusions, checkups, and even a case of sepsis that almost killed me. But I still remember Ryan's face, and it brings a smile to mine. Talk about a reality check. Some people don't realize the weight of their actions until it's too late. Now, let's move on to our final story, a personal tale of love, addiction, and an unexpected goodbye. I grew up in the hood with my great aunt. She was a caretaker for a few of my family's misfits, aka crackheads, LOL. My uncle, we'll call him Jay, was the most functional crackhead I had ever seen. He was always high, but he went to work, he paid bills, he occasionally took me to school if I missed my bus, and he was as involved in his own kids' lives as much as he could be. We always had a lot of fun together. He was a big goofball. Anyways, the house at the end of our street burned down one night. It was unfortunate, but man, when I tell you them freaking crackheads had a makeshift house built in under 4 days. It was nuts, but it became the crack house. My Uncle Jay began frequenting the house and regularly not coming home. He stopped going to work and wasn't as present as before. My great aunt would say, "He's smoking stepped on drugs," meaning the crack was no longer pure, so it's ruining him now. One morning I was home alone. Believe it or not, most of the addicts looked out for me. They knew me, I grew up there. Anyways, in comes my Uncle Jay. This man grabs every TV somehow in his 2 arms, says hey to me, and walks out. I was watching Arthur, so that really ticked me off. My great aunt was at the casino, so I called her to tell her what happened. She was pissed and sent my cousin Cass over to retrieve the TVs. Cass and I walked down to the crack house and start yelling Uncle Jay's name from outside. He never came out, but after about 5 minutes, a different crackhead comes out holding one of our TVs. He says, "I'm sorry, insert child nickname I cannot give to the world." Cass asked the man, "Where's my Uncle Jay?" The man says he's inside, but you don't want to see him like this. Cass makes his way into the house. I can hear him coughing and gagging, probably from the smells. He finds my Uncle Jay overdosed and unresponsive. He calls 911 and drags Uncle Jay to the grass outside. Paramedics show up, revive him, and y'all, this man bounces off the ground like a wild man and begins to fight everyone in his sight. It was so crazy. He was mad. They ruined his high. Meanwhile, I'm still mad I missed Arthur. So as he's running, I trip him so they can hold him down. Mind you, I'm standing there halfway, holding a TV up with my body, lol. As he falls, he says, Onishi to me like that. Paramedics are literally laughing at this point. He ends up arrested, and his addiction got worse. I didn't see him for literally 12 years after that day, and I always assumed he hated me, because, well, I tricked him and told on him about the TVs. So fast forward 12 years later, I'm bar hopping with friends in the downtown area. I hear somebody yelling my name, and my heart sank. I knew it was him, lol. I literally try to keep walking, as if I don't hear it. He runs to catch me and hugs me before I had the chance to stop it. I could tell he was still heavily using drugs. He then pulls out all these newspaper clippings he kept from when I was playing high school basketball. They were all in one bag he had stuffed in his pocket. I was pretty good, and my stats would be in the paper regularly. He had my stats from my freshman year all through my senior year. It was so crazy to me because I had convinced myself he probably hated me. Meanwhile, he had been loving me dearly from a distance this whole time. We talked for a few minutes and laughed about the altercation that happened all those years ago. He had 2 bottled shots of vodka. He said he was saving, but he wanted to have it with me to honor our late great-aunt that we both had lived with. She had died right before my 18th birthday. I reluctantly took the shot, and he asked for my number. He wrote it down, and I went on my way with my friends. My uncle overdosed and died that same night I saw him. It's like it was meant to be. We had to see and enjoy each other one last time before he left for good. I know most people see having an addict in your life as a burden, and it is, but honestly, some of my fondest memories are of him, and I doing the absolute dumbest things, lol. I wish I hadn't lost all that time with him, and I wish drugs hadn't ruined his life. Either way, R.I.P. Uncle Jay, and if you have an addict in your family, please never give up on them. What a bittersweet ending. It's a reminder that no matter how broken someone is, love can still reach them. Rest in peace, Uncle Jay. That's all for today's episode. What do you think? Which story hit you the hardest? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more unbelievable Reddit stories. Until next time, stay kind, stay vigilant, and always keep an eye out for karma.